No volume on here.
3, 2, 1.
Hi, guys. I hope everybody's having a great Saturday. This one is a little dreary today. We sort of have sun off and on. We're looking at regular Arctic outflow coming in the next week, so bracing ourselves for some true winter because we really haven't had a real Canadian winter so far yet this year. Who else is on here today? Hi, Carol and Peg Farmer and Elsie Sturm and Linnell and Diane Hendricks and Cindy Nezizon. Holy smokes, everybody's here today. I thought we would do something a little more relaxed this week. It just seems with the holidays and then January, it's just been a go, 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 go. And I have so been looking forward to just sitting and painting. And so I thought something fun, something relaxing, and something that we haven't painted yet. And we haven't painted the teapot to go with the teacup with the pretty pansies. So I thought that that would make the perfect thing to paint for today. And before we get too far into that, we're going to cover some happy mail. I had a bunch of birthday cards arrived yesterday. The mail has finally starting to move smoothly after all of the hubbub the last few weeks. And so I wanted to say thank you to a few people, Sandy Barton and Linda Safranco, and some family members that sent cards as well. So thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. It's so nice to find something like that in the mail. It just sort of brightens your day. So thank you very much. The other thing we're going to talk about today is the giveaways. So today I wanted to do something a little bit special as Valentine's Day is on Wednesday. So we have 3 Craftgasm bags. They're all done up in Valentine theme. So we have hearts and we have pink and red. And I filled it up with some fun things from Dynasty Brush. So there's a beautiful 4-brush set of Dynasty Faux Squirrel in there, including one of the pregnant liner is what people called it, but it's called a reservoir liner. And it's a beautiful long script with a little fat belly. You're going to love it. So there's one of those in there. Plus there's a gorgeous set of Dynasty Faux Squirrel wave brushes. So those are in there. And then we have some wonderful stamps tucked in as well. And of course, there's some little goodies from both Renee and I in there just to mark the Valentine's Day. So we have 3 of those to give away. Estimated value is about $50 US, which is a nice little giveaway. And to get your name on the wheel for those giveaways, all you have to do is like and share the stream, like and share the feed, get involved in the chat with the other people that are watching, and do the same on both Facebook and on the YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed, hit the big red button and you'll get notified whenever we go live or whenever we post new video. That's all you got to do. Any one of those things will get your name on the list, and Renee will load that list onto the wheel and we will spin, and 3 of you are going to win
Goodies.
lots of goodies. So that's it. So we're going to have a max relaxed day. We're going to have a little bit of fun.
Is the puppy asleep?
And the puppy is asleep.
Finally.
Yeah, finally. Don't wake the devil.
Satan is asleep on my floor.
Satan. Yes.
His name is Stan.
Stan. No. Not a fountain brush. Oh, the brush I'm talking about is called a reservoir brush, not a fountain brush. Or did you want to see a fountain brush? A fountain brush.
Do they even make a fountain brush?
Yes, we do make a fountain brush.
Water lily?
Oh, not in water lily.
No.
But in black gold, yes. But in Dynasty Faux Squirrel, it's the reservoir liner.
Ah.
There's Janet Demons and Janet Mills. Hi, Kathy Williams. It's raining in Tennessee.
I'm pretending the snowflakes are flower petals. I almost made them flower petals.
Yeah, that'd be a bit much, I think.
Yeah.
And Debbie McClellan from Central New York. Donna Shepard, good morning. Well, I'm so glad everybody's coming to paint today. I've had
Sandy Barton's got a good question.
Oh, does she?
Hey, have you used the new earth paints from DecoArt?
Yes, I have.
She did the testing on them.
I did the testing on them too. Some of the testing because I wasn't the only one. And then I had to do a project for the Goodwill program. There was the thing going on with Goodwill, and so I had to put a project together for them. And I discovered they're really nice to work with. They're really nice and opaque. They're very, very creamy. The colors are really rich. So I am going to be working with them a bit more. What really impressed me about them was that they have a fairly limited color palette. So you don't need to have 378 colors in order to have them all. There's a very limited, there's only 29 colors in the entire line. They work in conjunction with all of your Americanas. They work with all of your Americana mediums, your varnishes, everything, texture mediums. They will work just fine. They're perfectly compatible. So even if you find there's one or two colors you really like, grab a couple, try them out, and you can work with them with your regular acrylics. So that makes it for a very smooth transition. The body of them, if I had to give you a comparison, the body of them, the way they feel, the way they move, very much like Traditions. So really nice, thick, rich, creamy, great body, and the coverage is really, really nice. What is different about them? There's a couple of things that are different about them. One, the body of them. They have that really nice viscosity. So they're very creamy, much like a higher end acrylic paint. There's that. Price point. They're coming in roughly the same, a little higher. But I think the biggest benefit is the environmental one. The fact that they are being manufactured from paint that would have ended up in landfill is a big plus as far as I'm concerned. So there is that. And then they have a beautiful color palette. So just that you can bring in or add to an existing paint line that you already use that isn't going to have as much of an impact on the environment, I think is a big plus. So I was pretty excited about them when they came out. And I'm still excited about them.
Anne Easterling.
Hi, Anne.
I have a question about texture medium.
Okay.
What is a good brand and where do I buy it?
There's a number of good brands, and it depends on what you're going to be using it for. So if it's a texture medium you're going to use in your general art, almost any brand will do. Golden makes really nice ones. DecoArt actually makes really nice ones. So does Plaid. There's a variety of texture mediums out there. If it's acrylic, water-based, it's going to be fine with whatever you're working with. So I think the biggest thing is finding one that works for you, that gives you what you're looking for out of a texture medium. My personal preference, I love DecoArt Media Texture Paste. It has a nice consistency. I find it works really nicely. I can mix paint into it. I can paint over top of it. I can sand it. I can do a number of things with it. So Texture Paste from DecoArt Media is one of my favorites. I also love the Texture Sand. They have it in two places in the DecoArt lineup. You can buy it in a bottle out of the DecoArt Americana, or you can get it in the jar from the media line. Both of those mediums are exceptional, but they have that sandy grit. That's why I like them. So I use those. And then there is modeling paste, and modeling paste actually contains a little bit of latex, so it remains a little bit flexible. And you can add color to that. It has a neutral base, so you can add color to it without changing the color, which is always a benefit. So, and that one is also in the DecoArt Media line. And then there's gel mediums that create textures as well. So, I mean, I could go on and on and on, but if I were to recommend a specific texture paste, DecoArt Media Texture Paste, that's my personal favorite. Boom.
I think you covered it.
I think I covered it, but I could go on for hours because it's texture mediums, and I love texture mediums.
I had it. Give me a second. Cindy, what is fixative and when is it used?
Fixative is generally used for products like charcoal, pastels, colored pencils, mediums that don't necessarily have a binder or adhere to them. I use a fixative like Decor matte spray. There's a variety of brands out there that you can use. I use the Decor matte spray. It's technically not a varnish, it is a fixative. So I use that one because I use so many different mediums in some of the artwork that I create. I use gel pens, I use stencil paint, I use gold leaf, I use a bunch of different things. And so I'll use a matte spray just to adhere, make sure that everything stays where I put it, and also seal it from the varnish. So once it's sealed, anything I put over top of it isn't going to interfere.
And I got to go to YouTube.
I saw something about adhesion medium.
Yeah. What is the best medium to add to Americana paints to paint on glass or tile?
On tile. Okay, here's my thing.
She hates painting on glass.
I detest painting on glass. But that's a personal thing. I don't like the way it moves on glass. I find it hard to control. And so here's my thinking on painting on glass. Your best bet for painting on glass with acrylic paints is to etch your glass. Simply to give it enough tooth. Decor's paint adhesion medium is another one that you can mix to acrylic paint. It will give you much better adhesion. Keep in mind, none of those things mean it's going to be permanent. So you could wash it, wipe it with a damp cloth, it will be fine, but it is not permanent. If you want a permanent adhesion to glass, then use a paint that is built for adhering to glass. And Decor's glass paint works beautifully. There's a number of different brands that work really well. Pebeo makes a beautiful glass paint that adheres permanently to glass. So if you're doing things for a decorative purpose, purely decorative, something that's not going to be functional or used, then Decor's paint adhesion medium will work very well mixed in with acrylic paint.
And that was from the lovely Sue Braun.
Hello, Sue Braun.
Forgot to mention the name.
I find that most of those mediums that you add to it, if you do not follow the instructions to the letter, a lot of them can chip, a lot of them can scratch off. However, having said that, most of them, glass paints, etc., you can heat set them. And once they're heat set, like the Decor ones, they're actually dishwasher safe in the top rack. So again, I'm not a huge fan of painting on glass, but that's a personal thing. It has nothing to do with the quality of the paint or the quality of the medium. It's just a personal thing. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen any new questions come up yet.
Okay. Well, like I said, anytime you have a question, is
Fire
there
away.
anything out there you do not like that isn't your favorite? There's a number of products that I do not like. But from a professional standpoint.
That's a shorter list, though.
Oh, no. It's a fairly long list, actually.
Okay.
But again, it would be highly unprofessional to flatten or
bash
another product line. So I just don't do that. If I like it and I use it and it works, that's the thing. If it works, I use it. If it doesn't work, I don't use it.
Actually, Donna Baker, if you become a member, there's actually a member's video for a class on colored pencil.
Yeah. There's a couple of them, actually.
A few of them. So she has done colored pencil classes.
Yeah. I lost it, but there was something about, I saw a question there.
What is your favorite glue?
My favorite glue. The one that I use the most often is Aleene's Clear Tacky. That's just a general craft glue. My personal favorite for wood glue is Elmer's wood glue. That's my first.
It's the tastiest.
It's the tastiest. And some of the Gorilla Glues, it depends. Some I am not a fan of, mainly because I'm not all that comfortable using them. But I did use one of their immediate contact glues that was fabulous. And I have used E6000 quite a lot, actually. I do not like the smell, but I have a tube of their newest version, which is lower odor.
2 tubes.
2 tubes?
You have 2 tubes.
I have 2 tubes?
Yep.
Okay, but they're the low odor version. And they're still a little smelly, but they're certainly not as bad.
I tried to fix the lamp with it.
The what?
One of the lamps.
Oh.
Tried fixing it. It didn't work.
Yeah.
Do you paint with oils?
I used to paint with oils all the time. And I haven't painted with them in about the last 4 years. But I have worked with them. I worked with them for a very long time.
She doesn't like the smell.
I can't deal with the smell. It sort of does something to the asthma. The 2 pieces that you put on the website. Oops, I can't see that. I saw something on the...
Yeah, 2 pieces that you put on the website are great. Everyone needs to see these. This is great help for sure.
2 pieces.
What 2 pieces?
Oh, the PDFs. Was that Linda?
Yeah, it was Linda
Okay.
Franco.
There's 3 up there now. I put up a supply list.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I added a new page to the website the other day. And it essentially has a list of the Americana colors that I use the most frequently. It has a general supply list of the tools and materials and specialty mediums that I use all the time. It has a list of those. And then I have my recommended brush list on there as well. So that's it. So I think if you guys are ready to get started with today's piece, we're going to be painting this teapot. I love this.
Oh, yeah. Wait. Camera.
We're waiting for that.
I was waiting for your...
Oh, if you guys are ready to get started. So
I was waiting for that. I didn't get that.
Oh my goodness. He not happy.
No, he's trying to use the litter box.
Yeah, he is.
And the dog's in the litter.
So the one we're painting is this one. I had to turn around to go get it. Oh, Tracy. Sideways. I love these. This whole series. They're just a fun and simple piece to paint. They are not difficult. They're just an enjoyable way to spend a little bit of time with your brushes. And they make really cute decor pieces. You can hang them up in groups. We also, on the website, we put all the patterns for all of the mates to these are on sale. So there's a bunch of teapots and a bunch of teacups, and you can have a little bit of fun with them. They are fun to work with. So we're going to be doing Pretty Pansy Tea. Now we're starting with literally a blank canvas. And we're going to put some warm white in.
I'm going to try and zoom in as much as I can here.
We're going to put a little bit of warm white in here.
There. As long as she doesn't move it too much.
I will try not to move it too much. And I immediately moved it. So I'm going to use a little bit of warm white to put our base colors in. Now in this one, I have the white on the handle. So we're going to go with that one. Now when I base coat, I tend to be a little generous with the paint. And I make sure there's either a little bit of medium in it or a little bit of water just to keep it moving. And I always pull my paint in the direction that shape goes. And that brush is horrid. I need a smaller brush.
There's a few people asking about the Masterworks book behind you.
The Masterworks
Yeah.
book. Oh, my Alphonse Mucha.
Yeah, Alphonse Mucha.
Alphonse, my membership group is doing, working with Art Nouveau. the Art Nouveau movement this month. And my favorite artist of the Art Nouveau movement, I have two in that movement that I am particularly fond of. And Alphonse Mucha is one, and Gustav Klimt is the other. Those are, without doubt, my two favorite artists of that movement. And so this book, my husband gave me that book for my birthday one year. It is an absolutely beautiful book, tells the story of Mucha's life and a great deal about his art and his process. So it's a wonderful book. And Klimt, I think everybody's familiar with the painting The Kiss, is also from that art movement as well. There is, from what I hear, there's a documentary, and I'm not sure, there is a documentary about Klimt that a person can watch.
You can only get so close there, puppy. No personal space.
No.
Don't bite my ear. Ow! Why'd you bite my ear?
She's hungry.
You can lick my ear. That's fine. Ow! No, bite my ear.
There is no personal space when you have a Mal. None. We're learning.
Thanks for the kissing, though. Don't eat my ear.
So you don't have to work overly hard to get this base coat in. It's generally, I can usually do this in one, sometimes two coats. Usually it's one, just because of the way I lay in the color. And if you follow the shape of each of those spaces when you're laying down the paint, the coverage actually appears better than it is.
Tip that thing over. Look at him.
Yeah. Base coating is probably the least fun of any of the things that we get to do when it comes to painting. But it is also the most important. And my reasoning for that is that years ago I learned that the best surface, the best result that you're going to get is the one you're working over. So at every stage, whether it's preparation, whether it's base coating, making sure that you have the best possible surface is important. You can't skip any of those things, because if you do, the end result is going to show it. So if you're working on a surface that is really rough, there's not too many ways that you can avoid it looking rough later on, unless you make sure it's nice and smooth before you get started. So the base coat for my piece is lamp black, and when it was dry I sanded it with a little bit of brown paper. This one is actually a wood surface, wood panel. A little bit of brown paper just smooths out any of the raised burrs. It didn't get rough, so it didn't need technically to be sanded, but to buff it out, I guess, a little bit.
Are you using a rigger to base coat right now?
I am, because I wanted a tight line. There we go. Just wanted a nice close line for this. Now, for the base coating, larger areas I'll use either a round or small filbert. I like filberts for base coating. There's a few little tight spots in this one that I wanted a little more control, so I'm using a rigger. I wanted nice straight edges, nice crisp edges, so the rigger will let me do that. There we go.
Really?
So I'm going to quickly put a second coat on. The second coat can actually be a little thinner. And again, I follow the shape of the surface. And this allows me to get nice. So I just thinned out my warm white for that second coat because I don't feel it needs to be fully opaque. Now there's a couple of different ways that we can handle the next step to this. And somebody had emailed me a question. Patrick was wondering, how do you do this without getting paint everywhere? So we're going to show you how to stencil. I'm going to reverse this a little bit. And I think I may have messed it up when I did it. But that's okay. Now, because we're working on a black surface and we're going to be using black polka dots on the white portions of our teapot, we don't really have to worry too much about getting black on the rest of the piece. But say we wanted to put white polka dots on black stripes, then we would have to worry about the white polka dots getting out here. But I have a trick for that. So I'm going to put a little bit of lamp black on my palette. So we're going to just put black polka dots on the white portions of our teapot. You don't need to have it absolutely perfect because we want this teapot to have sort of a distressed look. So they don't have to be perfect. There we go. So we have black polka dots on the white portion. I'm going to come over here. Now I'm not using a lot of paint going to move the camera just a little so you can see what I'm doing here. So we have polka dots everywhere. And then I'm going to arrange my stencil just slightly so that I get lots of polka dots on my handle here. Et voila. So we have polka dots, but I wanted to show you a nifty little trick that you can do to mask off your piece. So say we wanted to do black stripes instead on our teapot and use white polka dots. So we didn't want to get white polka dots all over the background. So I would take my X-Acto knife and cut away the areas that are going to be black. So essentially the reverse of this one. So an X-Acto knife just to quickly cut it right out of your line drawing. Make a photocopy of your line drawing. And then cut away the areas that would be black. Just like so. So now we have this open area, and you would tape this into place, then place your stencil over top of your line drawing. And then, of course, you would use white if you were doing this in black. And then just stencil as you normally would. So essentially, we have just masked off all of the areas of the teapot that we don't want to get polka dots. Just like that. And so when you remove your stencil, so where we have polka dots would have been all over our painted piece or on our background, but by masking it, it keeps it and retains it within the space. So it's just a little tip. It's an easy way to block things out, to mask things off, so that you have a little bit more control. So just an easy tip, and all it takes is a photocopy of your line drawing. Easy peasy. So I'm going to come back to our piece here, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of warm white. I have a couple of spots here that I missed, but they're very teeny tiny. And then we have a little spot here at the base, the foot of the teapot. Now, I didn't want to get polka dots all over this part, so just left it blank for the time being. There we go. Et voila. So we're going to dry this real quick. Now this part is fun. I love my asphaltum. I think you guys know that. I love my asphaltum. So I'm going to put a little bit of asphaltum on my palette. And I'm going to get I'm working with a 1/2 inch angled shader. I'm using a Dynasty Water Lily. And I'm going to grab a mop brush. So we're going to add some shading to our teapot. And it's so much simpler to do this now because we don't have to worry about going over top of our painted pansies. So we can tuck this color in quite easily. So shade the handle inside on the upper curve and on the outside on the outer curve, just like so. Just use your mop brush to soften those floats a little bit. Soften, soften, soften. And we're going to put asphaltum up underneath this pansy here. Ooh. I picked up a schmegly somewhere. I hate it when that happens. I picked up a hair. Looks like an eyelash or something. So it didn't want to cooperate. And from time to time, I think the mop brush sheds a little bit, and then the other brush picks it up. Now we're going to put a little opening in the mouth of our teapot with a little float of asphaltum. Just a curved float right there. And then we're going to go around and deepen these floats with another float of asphaltum. I like them to be a little deeper. I wanted this one to sort of have that antique look. You can't really see it on the camera, but the pot is actually, mine is quite dark compared to what's on the screen. And I rather like it like that, but that's my preference. Now for this little space at the bottom here on the foot of the teapot, I put the float and then I walk it out a little bit. And then I put another float here, and this one is a little narrower. I just want a little highlight. If you look, this is where our highlight area is. Here, it'll be on the belly. Here, here and at the top. So, and the same here. We're going to have it. So we need this little open space right there for a highlight. And I prefer to do these floats layer by layer. Let each one dry and then put another layer of thin asphaltum on top. It just helps you build up the depth that you want, as opposed to trying to get it all done in one go. It just makes things look so much better. A little float. Hi, puppy. Mace is helping today. At least that's what we're calling it. She's a happy puppy. She's not quite 6 months old. She's almost 50 pounds. So I'm going to dry this. Oh, Robin Harkness, I'm so sorry. Nothing worse than hurting your back. You can't do anything. How do I use my mop brush without removing paint? A couple of ways. When I pounce it, I pounce out, away, and in towards the darkest value, and then it softens it. So the lightest edge is where I start, and then work back towards the darkest. That's the most effective. If you start at the darkest, you're just going to pull off all of your color. You'll never get it to balance nicely. So if you start at the watery edge or the clear edge of the float and then work in, you'll get a nice soft diffusion. So I think I'm happy with the floats as they are. So I'm going to highlight the belly of our pot. Gotta find my dry brush. I'm moderately obsessed with this brush lately. This is that medium Mezzaluna. Seems to be the brush I grab the most often these days for dry brushing. So to load it, I pick up a little bit of the warm white and I scumble it on the brush and then take it over to your paper towel and just blot a little bit. It's just to make sure you don't have gobs of white paint on it. Now your highlight is going to run to follow the shape of the pot, like so.
Oh.
So follow that curve.
Karen is wondering if you can use Payne's Gray instead of asphaltum.
Yes, if you prefer a cooler color, by all means. Payne's Gray is a great color. Painters like Sandy uses Payne's Gray a lot. Sandy McTeer. She uses the cooler color, but essentially her and I are doing the same thing but with different colors. I tend to like a warmer tone as hers is a little bit cooler. So she uses the Payne's Gray to tone things and to produce shadows, whereas I use the asphaltum. They both do the same thing. So yes, absolutely.
Are you using water today to thin your paint, or do you have your medium?
I'm using water because I'm out of medium. I'm waiting on it.
It's coming.
It's coming. Been waiting forever, it seems. So I have a dry brush on the belly. Mine's a little coarse, but it's okay. It's fine. And I'm going to brighten it in a couple of spots. I want to brighten it right here. Light impact point on the belly. And up here. And then I'm also going to highlight on this as well. I'm exaggerating it on this because the camera is actually being very light today. And little dry brush on that lid. Just a little one. There is a smaller one of these. I just can't find mine at the moment. And then you can do the same thing on the white portions as well. But I'm going to show you another way to highlight whites. But I do absolutely love this. I'm not sure what it is about this Mezzaluna that has me so obsessed. It's just, it's very soft. Creates really nice soft highlights. So I've got that in place. Now we have to worry about this tag. Now, you can base coat it and stamp it, which is generally what I do. And I seem to have misplaced something. Or was that what the dog was eating?
What? The butterfly?
I had a tag, and I don't know where it went.
Oh, I think the dog may have got it.
I had a tag, but the dog ate it. Oh, well. It may turn up yet. So in your line drawing, good heavens.
Wonder if I could do a puppy cam now.
I don't know. You could try.
Let's
So
try.
in your line drawing is this, one of the tags. Now, I've already pre-stamped it in the line drawing. So if you don't have the stamps or can't find them or what have you, then you can do it this way. So essentially what you do is just cut the tag out, and then we can decoupage it onto the surface. I had it already pre-cut out, but oh well, needs must.
Okay, let's see if I can do a puppy cam. Nope. Too dark.
Too dark. It's that dark face of hers.
There's the puppy right there, I think. That's your butt. There's puppy. Yeah, her face is too dark. Can't do puppy cam.
Aw. Need my good decoupage scissors. Here we go. So, as I said, you can do this a couple of different ways. You could base coat it white and just paint it. Or you can use your decoupage scissors and cut out said tag. Comme ça. So there is our little tag. So you can cut it out and base coat it or decoupage it in place, and you just use a little bit of matte medium or your favorite Mod Podge or DecoArt matte. Any one of those will work just fine. Or you can base coat it and stamp it. So if you don't have your...
What's going on up there?
That's the cat. Do you think the dog makes a noise? That cat is worse. So I'm going to base coat this white. And then we're going to stamp it because it's just fun to do. But I wanted to show you that you had an option.
Okay, pup, you keep licking that hand. Not gonna have fingers left.
Well, consider the alternative. She could bite them off.
And there's the biting.
Okay. She's just tasting you.
No. Good girl.
So the nice part about this tag is it does not have to be perfect. In fact, it's more interesting if it's not. I'm a firm believer that wonky is better.
Wonky is better.
Well, you know what? Perfectly straight and square it's neat and it's tidy, but it's not very interesting.
There's no character.
There's no character, and I like character. Things have to have character. It makes them more interesting. You know, it's like people. People have to have character.
What are you doing? No. I know, that piece of paper looks delicious.
Is it my tag?
No, it's not your tag.
So I'm going to dry this real quick, and then we're going to play with my stamp set. I have several alphabet. I have an obsession with fonts. And, you know, a variety of things. I obsess over a whole bunch of things.
What surfaces is this on again?
This is on an 8x8 artist panel, a cradle. You can also do this on an 8x8 canvas. So this is the set that I have. I love this set. It's just that right size. They're perfect for this. And it has both the upper and the lower case, which is really nice. Oops. So we have P-R-E-T and a Y and an A and an N.
Deb says she likes me because I have character.
Yep. There we go. So I love this little set. I think I paid, what, $21 for this set on Amazon. It has everything you need. And it's just the right size. It's not too big.
Hi from Louisiana.
Hello.
Hello, Julie.
So we're going to do Pretty Pansy P.
Don't chew on the chair.
Okay. Good heavens. An X? I don't need an X.
She's almost done teething. You'd never know it, but...
So we're going to stamp Pretty Pansy. P. Now, how you do this is entirely up to you. You can
Really?
I like this set. And the other thing is you don't need to worry about making them absolutely perfect. I kind of
Hey,
lost my P. There it is.
stop biting my hand.
So P-A. Good heavens.
Hey. No.
This is a nice little set.
No.
I'll see if I can't find you the link to it because it is actually a really great value. I have used these so much. Boop. And where's my T? There it is. T.
You must taste good? I doubt that.
There we go. There we are.
Oh, got the leg going. Got the leg going. There we go.
So, we've got all our lettering in. Pretty Pansy T. I will put these back in a little bit, properly anyway. I love the fact that this one has its own case. That it is not loose, it doesn't fall out of the box, which is a huge benefit to my mind. Because I nothing worse than going to do something and discovering one of your letters is missing. It's like buying 1,000-piece puzzle and one of the pieces is missing. Things are just not complete or right because of that. So the fact that this one has its own case is awesome. So I'm going to make sure that that ink is good and dry. Et voila. And then I'm going to switch over to a 3/8 angled shader. I love my 3/8. That's this one here. So it's a nice brush for those small areas.
How can you line up those letters so easily?
You know what? It's not as difficult as you think. They're all placed the same distance from the top and the bottom and from the width. And so if I line up the outside edge of the stamp with the edge of the letter, it gives me a pretty decent spacing. It's impossible to get it absolutely perfect, but you know what? In this case, close enough. So we're going to age this tag just a little bit. I like to go around the outside edge with just a little float of asphaltum. Like so. Just to age the edge just a little bit. And it doesn't have to be smooth. It can be quite irregular if you want it to be. And just take it right to the edge. And then I'm going to dry this. And then we're going to put in a little drop shadow underneath that tag. Just so that it looks like it's, dangling there as opposed to just laying on the surface. And I'm going to do that with a little bit of asphaltum. Now, my light source is coming from the left, upper left and down. So I want to start my shadow right here underneath. And I always come just slightly down from the edge of to the point of that tag. Just like that. And I follow the shape of that tag. So I'm mimicking the shape of the tag with that little shadow. And then keep in mind, there's a string that's going to come from here as well. So I'm going to stand my brush on its chisel edge, and I'm going to put in a line of asphaltum that comes in and stops just before or just behind that point. So that is going to be the shadow for that line or that string that's holding the tag on. So when we put it in, that string is going to be just in front of that line. Slightly. So we are ready, I believe, to start bringing in the colors for those flowers. So I'm going to clear off my palette.
Oh, Susan's got a good question.
Okay.
What's the difference between American multi-surface and regular Americana paints?
Multi-surface paints have a high adhesion resin added to them so that they adhere to virtually any surface. So you can adhere to plastic, glass, metal, vinyl, and wood. So even non-porous surfaces and porous surfaces. So that's why. It has a high adhesion resin. The things I know about paint.
I'm going to go make a quesadilla. I'm hungry.
Okay. I'm going to paint a pansy. Well, 3 of them. 4 of them.
4, 3,
4.
4,
4.
3, 4.
I have an icky thing in my bottle of paint.
Any tips on which side to make the light source?
You know what? if you're painting from a designer's pattern, they've already established the light sources, obviously. But if you're creating something on your own, it's never a bad idea to sort of set up what you're going to paint. So create a little vignette. So if you wanted to paint a paint bottle and a pair of scissors and a dish of brushes, comme ça, set it up on a table and then take a couple of photographs of it and then have a close look and see where the light is impacting it. If you're painting from real life, or if you're creating something like this, but using something in real life, it's a good idea to set it up and have a look at it so that you can see how the light strikes it. So it's never a bad idea. Even if what you're doing is perhaps a coffee cup, take one of your own coffee cups, set it up. It doesn't have to look exactly like what you're painting or what you're going to create, but set it up so that you have an idea of where the light strikes. In this case, in the studio, almost everything that I design is going to have a light impact point to the left because most of the lighting in the studio is on my left-hand side. So generally, it'll be on the left. Sometimes I'll switch it up and put it on the right, but that is how I do it. So I do have a fat little teapot. It doesn't have stripes, but I have a fat little teapot, and that's where I take my inspiration from for some of these things. And I'll take a photograph of it and have a look at it and go, okay, well, this is where the light's striking and this is how it's striking. And I'll make note of where it's striking, the top of the handle, down here, and how that light impact looks or how it moves or how it curves and how it affects the overall piece. So that is how I do it. I was taught to paint from real life. I was taught to draw from real life. You can expand on it from there. It doesn't have to look exactly like what you were working from, but it's a good idea. So I'm going to find a small filbert here somewhere. Maybe. So the color that I'm using is called Purple Petal. Has a very high white base, so it actually is very opaque. So I don't have to put anything. Oh, that brush is terrible. Fine, I'll use a rigger. I like to lay my color in the shape of the petal. Just like I paint every flower, I always follow the shape of each individual petal. So this one bends back towards the center. And so the strokes that I pull direct back towards the center of the flower. Like so. And this purple petal is very opaque, covers really well. It's a nice color. Now, oh, Terry, where did I get my decoupage scissors? These ones? Believe it or not, these are embroidery scissors. I found these on Temu. I don't have a whole lot of use for Temu, but I did find these, and absolutely beautiful scissors. I will say this, be very careful with them because you can cut yourself with these. They are absolutely gorgeous scissors. They are very heavy metal. And I just love the finish of them, but yeah, they're a beautiful pair of scissors. And I use them for decoupage because they have that nice sharp point. So I'm almost done with this petal here. Now I'm coming right back to the center of this flower. I just prefer to follow the shape of the petal. There's a couple of good reasons. Is that way any brush lines or any brush marks that you have in the petals are going to fall into the flower. So they'll become part of the flower. So pansies are a very pretty flower. They are a bit of a challenge, however, to get that velvety look. Pansies have that lovely velvety appearance, and it is hard to get that look. So I'm going to show you a trick for it to get that velvety appearance, and part of it is, again, bringing all of those brush marks back towards the center of the flower. Like so. Pansies were one of my mother's favorites. There we go. Now you'll notice that there's a couple of little flip overs in these flowers where the petals bend over, and I leave those black. You'll see why in a bit, because I just prefer to do it this way. And the same with each of the petals. If you look, I've got a very narrow space in between the petals, and this just eliminates the need to come back in and trace line drawings back on, which never come out accurate. It drives me nuts, and I prefer to do it this way. There. So I'm going to dry this real quick. And then we're going to put a little bit of warm white on the palette. A little bit of warm white. And Diox purple. Our shading color for these is dioxazine purple. Now, I also use asphaltum on here. A little bit. I like to use just a little bit. That just to deepen my floats. And I have to get my 3/8 angled shader. It can be either water lily or the faux squirrel. I tend to go back and forth between them, depending. I like the faux squirrel because look at the chisel edge on this thing. They are sharp as razors. I love those sharp chisel edges. For pink pansies, what would I use for pink pansies? I would gravitate towards something like vintage pink. I like the more muted tones than the bright pinks. And then I would probably shade it with a color like hang on. Where's my vintage pink? I gotta have a look here. Now you got me thinking. That's not it. So a vintage pink, and then I think I would start shading it with vintage pink, and there we go. Vintage pink, and so this is vintage pink. I really like these tones for a couple of reasons. One, this vintage pink really falls into this sort of vintagey looking teapot, and so the color tone, which is one of the reasons I chose that purple petal. I liked how it falls into it. And then to shade it, I would use wild berry. And again, It's in that same, if you understand what I mean, it's sort of has that same feel to it. There's that sort of rustic vintage, slightly muted hue to it. So those two colors, vintage pink and wild berry, I think they would make very pretty pink pansies. Are we still snowed in? We're actually not in too bad a shape here. Our biggest issue here is that the city that does most of our shipping, where all of our major transport hub is, has been snowed in for about the last 5 days. So, well, last 6 days. So nothing has really been moving very far from here. So, and when it does move, it's slow. But yeah, it's getting better. So we're going to start with a little bit of warm white. And I'm going to thin this just slightly. I don't want it full strength because then it's going to cause a problem. Now, this is how I kind of figure out where highlights need to go. So here, I look at things as high and low. So when you look at the edge of the pansy, you see these little dips. Those are the highs, and these are the lows. So the point is the high. So this is where your highlight is going to go. And you kind of want to create, oops, it's going to be kind of a little triangle. Just like that. It's not really a float. It's more of a chisel. So I tap and pull the color. And it kind of creates, I'm just doing this really harsh so you can see what I mean. So it kind of creates a series of little triangles. So we need a triangle here. And then we've got another triangle over here. And the heel of them always point back towards the center of the flower. So here, pick up a little bit more here. So if you understand what I mean, there we go. So I'm exaggerating this so that you can see where it's going. So it kind of looks a little stripy, if you see what I mean. So those little dips, as I put them right there, those are where the petal is rising. And the lower ones is where it is dipping down. So I've got that highlight in place. I'm going to take a little bit of that dioxazine purple, just a little. I'm going to blend it out. You don't want it full strength because it's a strong color, but it's also a transparent color, so we can work with it. So blend it out a little bit. And in the dip, or that low area, we're going to put a little C-shaped float like so. So if you get a little closer to the camera. So we have a high point and a low point, and that helps create that little ruffle in the petal. So again, little float, C-shaped float, just helps create that little ruffle at the edge of the petals. So you can see we've got ruffles forming on that petal. So I'm going to start separating these petals. And again, we're going to do that with that dioxazine purple. So I'm going to bring that diox down into and behind the petal. Just like that. Now we have turnovers. So you see these areas here where we have the black space. These are turnovers. So we need a little bit of diox underneath there. I know they don't look like much yet, but they will. And then we have a shadow that's going to come in here and one here. So we've got our first set of shadows and highlights put in. So don't forget, you got to come underneath those little flip overs right there. Now I'm going to dry that and we're going to do it again. So I can deepen that shadow a little bit, just at the edge there. The deeper it gets, the more pronounced that ruffle gets. I'm going to rinse out my brush, and we're going to brighten the highlight at the edge of that petal. So we've set up all of the ruffles in this petal, and now we're going to make them a little bit more pronounced with a little bit of more warm white. But we're going to let the spaces, or just a tap. So we're going to let some of those spaces be a little more pronounced, a little more texture at the edge of the petal. Now I'm using just the very chisel edge of the brush and a tiny bit of warm white. So it's essentially just little dots of color, little chips of color going in there. Now these ones take a little bit of time to paint, but that's okay. Going to use a little bit of saffron yellow and a little bit of orange flame. You can use Sunny Day. Any yellow will do just fine. I just happened to reach and find some saffron, so saffron it is. And a little bit of orange flame, because I love orange flame. I'm going to put a dot, a generous dot, right in the center or the throat of our pansy with saffron yellow. And I'm going to dry that. And then we're going to load up with warm white again. This one's a little stronger. It can be almost full strength. And we're going to put a ruffle in the mouth or the throat of our pansy by standing the brush on its chisel edge and just tapping and pulling a little bit of white like so. And it's going to leave a little bit of a black space underneath that yellow dot. That's okay. And you're going to pull this beard, as they, going to let it come about halfway down the petal. Look at that. going to rinse out your brush. Going to dry it because we're going to put a little bit of saffron yellow over top of that. And we're going to put the saffron on exactly the same way. So brush out your saffron yellow. You want a nice gradient. And then you're going to tap and pull that yellow right over top of that white, like so. If a little of the white shows through, that's okay. Don't worry about it. And again, pull that color down about halfway down the petal. Now, on the bottom of our little yellow center, we're going to put a little float of orange flame, just a little float. And then I'm going to repeat that on the two major petals on either side. Just like that. Start with the white first and then go into the saffron yellow. So I'll dry that. I've always loved that bright yellow center in pansies. It just, that throat just gives the flower so much character. And then we'll dry this. Now I want a little highlight on the center there. I'm going to put just a little dot of white on the center of my flower. And then I'm going to get out my favorite liner brush. I'm using my 10-aught extra long detail liner. And I'm going to use a little bit of that same purple that we used for the flower, but I'm going to add a generous dollop of white paint to it. I want it almost white. There we go. It can be just white, but I want to make this. There we go. So I'm going to use my liner brush and we're going to paint in those turnovers. So starting at the center, I'm going to paint in my turnover. And then at the edge of my petal, I'm going to use that same thinned color to put a very fine squiggly line at the edge of my petals. What?
Thought I got away from her.
I don't think it's that easy to get away from her.
Nope, it's not. Where are we at? What am I missing?
I don't know. I'm hoping I didn't miss any questions. So
Oh, Amy Knight missed us. She's got to go. How vibrant is the color on the laser printers? Might not be a question for us. Were you talking about laser printers?
No.
No?
I have 2 lasers. I have one color and one black and white. I also have that new inkjet.
Inkjet prints nice pictures.
My inkjet I'm very happy with.
Really snowy Denver, Colorado.
Colorado low out there. So, I've got those upper petals done. This is something I like doing. On this lower petal, down here, I like to put a little comma stroke. At the edge here, just around on either side of that center. And again, that little fine line of that purple at the edge of the petal. And then a few fine strokes of that lighter color to enhance that highlight. Just a little. Just gives the flower a little more texture. So I'm going to dry this real quick, and then we're going to deepen the shading on our little flower here. And for me, this is the part where the flower really comes to life, is when you do this next step, because it just sort of gives it all of the depth that you want. And I'm going to do that with my 3/8 angle and a little bit of asphaltum. And I'm going to thin out that asphaltum quite a bit. I don't want this full strength. Full strength just makes things look dirty and grimy, and I don't like that. So we're going to shade into all of the deepest areas of this pansy with a float of asphaltum. And yes, you're going to go over top of some of those white lines at the edges of the petals, and it's going to help set that series of petals back a little bit.
What is she chewing on?
Her leash.
Oh. Cindy is wondering if you've done a teapot with African violets.
Yes, we have. We did African violets. We did sunflowers. We've done wild roses. That little float of asphaltum up underneath those foldovers just give the petals a little more depth. There we go.
Oh, you got rid of most of that series.
Oh, I didn't get rid of them. They're all up there.
Oh. At the start.
They're still a favorite. I love doing these. I love teapots. I love polka dots. So we're going to do some leaves now. I need my rigger. Where'd my rigger go? There it is. So I've got a little bit of antique green. Yep, antique green. You can use the lush green too. That's a great color.
I wish there was a translate feature.
For what?
I don't know if it's a question or not.
Oh.
But I think it says, hello from Midra, Venezuela.
Wow. Nice.
Reaching out.
So I'm going to base coat these leaves with a little antique green. And I think I will need a second coat, but we've got a cute little leaf up here. Simple little stroke. Just to base coat that in. And I think I'll give it another coat because that did not cover very well. There, that's much better.
Hopefully the closed captioning on YouTube actually translates to multiple language. Hopefully.
I can't remember. Oops, I saw a question. Where did it go? What is the difference between gel gesso and gesso? I have never worked with gel gesso, so I honestly can't answer that question.
Lost you for a few minutes. Oh, that's not good. That wheel is getting full.
That's awesome, because we have some nice giveaways today.
Mm-hmm.
Some nice stamps. There's a stencil in there. There's goodies in there. Okay. Well, since I got that green out, I might as well just throw a couple of coats on here too. I love antique green. It's just, for me, it's that ideal green. Some people like Hauser medium. I've always loved this green. It changes with depending on what you shade it with and highlight it with. It's just one of those greens that just works really well. I have a little obsession with these teapots. There's just pots and mugs. Right now I'm obsessed with the little tin cups, the enamelware. I was doodling one the other night.
Cowboy mugs.
Yeah, there's just something about them. I don't know what it is. And the rustier and more beat up they look, the better. I am going to finish this one today. I don't like not finishing. So I'm getting excited about Chattanooga. I'm really getting excited about Chattanooga. We're doing the sunflower class. I'm going to have a page up on my website with supply lists and everything for the classes that I'm teaching. So even though there is one in the catalog, I am going to have a list of recommended supplies that you might want. And if you've never been to convention before, it's helpful if somebody can give you a list of things that you might need. So I will have that up on the new page on my website soon. So if you're looking for a list of the brushes that I use most frequently, there is a PDF on my website. If you click on the main menu on More, where it says More, you'll see one that says Tracy Supplies on it. And you'll be able to download from there and then print it out, and you can use it as a checklist if you like. So we're going to shade with a little bit of black green. You can use plantation pine. I just grabbed black green, so black green it is.
When is Chattanooga? Sorry.
June.
June?
Yep.
Chat. Check. Check, check, check. Oh, right before tourist season, eh?
You're welcome.
If that.
So for shading, I have a simple way of shading leaves. Is there any color that is close or a formula to make your own in reference to antique green? The closest one to antique green is called lush green. And that's one of the newer colors that Deckwart put out, I think, a year and a half ago. And lush green is the closest. If you can't get that, avocado green will work too.
Do you need a butterfly?
I do. Is there anything left of it? Yes, it is. Okay, good. And the surface, Joan, is an 8x8. It's a favorite size because it's compact and it works really well when we're on screen. So when I shade leaves, I start at the base of the leaf where it joins the stem, and I usually put in a rounded over or a U-shaped float at that point, so that the float goes from edge to edge of the leaf. So where it joins the stem, where it tucks underneath the flower. Thank you.
Doug didn't eat it.
No, we found the tag. That's amazing. So little leaf up here, edge to edge, a float in a U shape where it joins the stem. And I use that same method for all of the leaves. So up underneath, U-shaped, U-shaped, so that it comes edge to edge.
Just curious, would using another color other than asphaltum, like a dark blue, for darkening the inside of the pansies?
Yeah, you could use Payne's Gray. You could use probably a Prussian blue, I would go to.
Would it look unreal or just plain ugly?
Well, it would depend. It depends a lot on the purple that you're using. I use asphaltum because it's a toning color. It subdues colors a little bit. It's not necessarily just for shading. It's for subduing the tone and bringing things down a little. Sandy McTeer and a number of other painters use Payne's Gray to achieve the same thing. But Payne's Gray would work very easily. If you wanted a bluer tone or a cooler tone to it, Payne's Gray would work just fine. The thing to keep in mind is to make sure that you do it in thin, overlapping layers. Use it in small, thin layers. And that way you have control over it. If it gets too dark, then...
A good substitute for asphaltum. Or a mix.
There isn't really one.
Yeesh.
However, if you can't find Deckwart's asphaltum, Folkart makes asphaltum.
There you go.
Also very good.
How come I can't see YouTube?
I don't know. Okay, so I've got my U-shaped floats on my leaves. I'm going to put in some center veins on these leaves. And I'm going to do that with a float down the right side on these two, starting underneath the plant and coming out to the point.
Still don't see YouTube. What's going on?
These two leaves here are facing in a slightly different direction. So
People on YouTube are getting kicked? What?
where are we?
Just got kicked out? What?
Oh, Mary Jane. Thank you. That's a nice thing to say. Now, my shading is soft for a couple of reasons. And one of them is quite simply that I use thin transparent layers. And I have no problem doing it 3 or 4 times to get the depth that I want. But I also use the whole brush. I'm going to dry that real quick. And by that, I mean that I'm using the whole chisel edge of the brush. I'm not just using the point. And we have a tendency to do that. We tip the brush up onto the point because it's a small area. I use the whole chisel edge. Just lay the whole chisel edge on the surface, and then you'll end up with nice soft floats. Takes a little practice to get the brush loaded well, but in the end, it works. So I'm going to dry that, and then we're going to start highlighting. And I'm using a little bit of margarita. You can use matcha green. If you don't have margarita, you can use matcha green. You can use olive green. Essentially, all we need is a nice high yellow green. And I like margarita.
YouTube has been difficult today. I've had to restart about 10 times. The chat freezes and the video buffers a lot. Oh. It is a Saturday. And we're entering prime time, so.
Yep. So.
Hello from Lima, Peru. Lima.
There. So I'm using a little bit of margarita for my highlight, and I have way too much paint on my brush. I know this because my float got very, very light.
Ooh.
So highlight on the left side, down the center vein, and then I like to bring a little bit up onto the forward edge of the leaf. Just a little. You don't need to have a ton of it on there. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Little highlight here.
Wow. What? Marjorie Eaton is celebrating 28 months.
I know.
with Creating with Tracy.
I know. She's awesome.
Always a time of enjoyment watching the live videos and sharing on the chat. Bless you all.
Aww.
That's what she says. Oh, Kay Reynolds has got a dog. I think it's a doggo.
What?
Oh, it shows me their profile icon. I think it's a doggo.
So on these little leaves that you have out here, we're just going to put a little float at the tip of these leaves. They don't really have a center vein to speak of, but we're just going to put a little highlight at the point. And it's U-shaped as well and goes edge to edge. Oops. Time to rinse out my brush and reload it. There we go.
Ah, it's my Westie fur baby. I knew it was a doggo. It was either a standard sheepdog or...
You couldn't tell.
or a Westie.
Now, after highlighting like this, some of those center veins can look a little muted, like they've been subdued a little bit. So you can come back in with a little float of that, either black green or plantation pine, either one, and just put a little float back in just to deepen them nicely. It just gives the leaf a little more depth just by deepening that shadow at the center vein a little bit. You don't need to do a ton of it, but it gives that nice little rollover, that curved shape to the leaf. So I'm going to dry this really well. And then we're going to start working on the rest of these pansies. But before I do that, I want to base coat my butterfly. Now, I painted it directly onto the surface. And then I have this marvelous brainstorm.
That the dog chewed on.
That the dog chewed on. It's got teeth marks. You could actually use a wooden one like I have here if you want to. I'm going to paint them exactly the same way. So the technique does not change. And the fun part is that you can decide where you want to place your butterfly. And I think this one is a little big, but it's okay. Who said it had to be right on the surface? It can be off the surface if I want it. It's mine. I can do whatever I want. So I'm just going to base coat said butterfly with a coat of that purple petal. Same color we painted the pansies.
Will you post us the conference in Chattanooga?
I'm hoping to go live in Chattanooga with a little bit of luck and good management.
Yeah, see what... Did you add that into your contract? About going live?
I can go live wherever I want, yes.
I'm a do me. Do you have the butterflies on your website?
Not at the moment.
It's sold out.
I sold out of them. I have the big ones, but they're too big for this. I have some coming, though. Eventually, they'll get here. I say eventually because everything seems to be taking 4 or 5 times longer than it usually does these days. So we had a snowstorm here on the East Coast that literally brought some areas of the Maritimes to a complete standstill. The roads were impassable, and in some places they still are. It's just insane. Record amounts of snow.
What other colors can you use instead of purple petal?
Oh, I mean, whatever purples blow your hair back.
Will the small hearts be in stock for the RAK?
Yes, I have about 300 of them coming. And I just got some yesterday, and they're all gone because we were filling orders. So I'm not sure how much is left. But, got you and your and Sandy's classes and choose. Oh yes, you're in the mystery class, Bonnie. Awesome. You're gonna have so much fun.
The mystery class?
Well, we're doing a special event.
Yeah.
And nobody knows what we're painting.
Oh!
So we're going to have so much fun. Sandy and I have been plotting.
I gotta go get my paperwork for my passport.
Yes, you do.
Do I have to be clean shaven for a passport photo?
No.
No? This is what I look like, period.
This is as good as it gets.
If I shave, you're going to be asking me for ID at the bar.
Yeah. You in a bar?
What?
First of all, you don't drink.
Doesn't mean I can't.
No, that's true. I know how.
I know how. I didn't forget. I choose not to drink.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of sobriety.
No.
It's a matter of I lost interest in it. And I do like Baileys and coffee every once in a while. Or a glass of wine with a good dinner.
Yeah. He just doesn't treat it like a sport.
Yeah.
It's like...
Not playing the game of how drunk can I get by 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Don't like playing that game. If somebody's offering me a nice glass of scotch, I'm going to drink it.
To enjoy it.
To enjoy it. I like a good whiskey.
Just like I like a good glass of wine.
Or a nice, neat vodka.
Yes, I do.
My
favorite cocktail, as you were,
Yeah.
is a dirty martini.
Fair enough.
Not something I make at home.
No.
But if I'm out, I like a dirty martini.
Chocolate martini for dessert?
No, thank you. Those are disgusting.
Ooh.
I don't.
You may have offended some people.
Oh. No, I just, yeah.
Donna Baker, I signed up for the mystery class too.
Awesome. We are going to have such a great time.
Beverly, I also signed up for that class in Chattanooga.
Awesome.
That's the difference between social drinking and an alcoholic.
An alcohol.
If I feel like having a drink, it's going to probably be a beer.
Yeah.
Something
Beer doesn't agree with me. And I'm not a big fan anyway.
A red beer.
I'm still not a fan.
Rickard's Red is good beer. Keats Red was my go-to.
Yeah. I don't drink beer. So it doesn't matter to me. I will have a Corona every once in a while. That's about it.
I'll have a light beer.
That's a very light beer. But that's as beer as I get. I don't care for beer.
Depends on the martini you want. What are martinis made up of?
There's different types. You can have a vodka martini or you can have a
Gin and vermouth.
Gin and vermouth. I don't like
That's
gin.
A traditional martini.
Yeah.
Gin and vermouth.
Yep. I do not like gin. Don't like the smell of it. Can't get anywhere near it.
It's just juniper.
I know, but it just yuck. If I'm going to have a martini, it will be a vodka martini straight up, meaning no bitters, no vermouth. And it's usually a dirty martini. That's my favorite.
I like Dr. Pepper. I do too. I do enjoy an ice cold Dr. Pepper.
I can't even remember the last time I had a Dr. Pepper. Dun, dun, dun. So this is the tedious part. Is getting these base coats in.
Leanne's wondering because she went to go deal with the Amazon delivery.
Uh-huh.
And her dogs were barking. I missed the mystery box class doc thing.
Oh, Sandy McTeer and myself are doing a special event in Chattanooga. And if you register, you're not going to know what you're painting for a while.
Until you get there. Surprise!
So, all I can say is be adventurous. But I can promise you one thing. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, I've had a couple of questions in reference to doing my sunflower class in Chattanooga. So, I'll answer that right now. The only thing that you need to bring with you for my class is your brushes and your basic painting supplies. I am a firm believer for myself. I prefer to be able to supply you with anything that you're going to require that is out of the ordinary. And so you do not need to have a specific stencil. You do not need to have any fancy brushes. If you need something specific, like a rigger, if you have one, great. If you don't worry about it. They'll be provided for you in class.
Where is Chattanooga? Tennessee.
Chattanooga, Tennessee. It is. I think we're going to have a great convention. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I miss going to convention. Seriously miss going to convention. It's creative mayhem. You get to meet everybody that you meet has the same passion for creativity that you do. So that is a plus. And then so many creative things. And then when you're on the trade floor, well, everything and anything that you've ever even thought you needed, and a whole bunch of things you didn't know you needed, are available. And it's just so much fun. And I'm going to have some new designs available at the show that have not been done in a live, that have not been published before. So we'll have some new stuff to show you. We're going to be busy. Busy. And we'll go live. And if everything works out, we'll have a booth space and you guys can come and play.
Oh, JL has got to take off.
Will I be coming to net? No, I won't. Because I'm going to be in Alaska. My husband and I are celebrating our 40th wedding anniversary this year. So we are going to Alaska.
Alaska. Of all places to go.
Well,
just saying.
Neither one of us like all
Most
the touristy, the hot spots and
whatnot.
whatnot.
Where do you go when you've had such a travel experience in your early years?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And neither one of us has the patience for it anymore. So
neither one of you want to deal with Europeans anymore.
We just don't want to deal with the whole travel thing anymore. So
no offense, Patrick.
No. We've been there, done that, and got all the t-shirts. And both of us have always wanted to go to Alaska. And so we have...
It's more up your alley.
We have booked ourselves 9 days.
9 days.
And traveling to up the coast of the west coast of Canada.
One tundra for another?
Well, I wanted to go see Denali.
Oh, you wanted to see Mount Denali?
I wanted to go to the national park.
Ah, gotcha.
There's just so much to see that I really want to see. And we're going to be going through the Queen Charlotte's, and so I'm excited. It's going to be nice.
And it's Mother Nature at its purest.
Well, as pure as it gets anymore. So.
Well, boreal forest, yeah, that's as pure as it gets. Next to the Amazon, but everything tries to kill you there.
Oh, and you don't think it does?
Okay, so you got grizzlies, badgers, mountain lions.
We get everything.
Wolves.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the Fisher cats are bigger there.
Pretty freaking big here, too.
Is the convention something a novice painter would enjoy taking classes, or would it be over my head?
I think you would be blown away by it. I think you would probably become even more passionate about it than you already are. The one thing I will recommend if you are a novice painter, be very careful selecting your classes. There are teachers that teach beginner, and what that means is that they're going to teach you at every stage how to float, how to do line work, how to load your brushes, etc. So look for those beginner classes. That is not to say that if you aren't absolutely in love with a piece, not to take the class, because sometimes taking something that is outside of your comfort zone or is outside of your experience is not necessarily a bad idea. Just be prepared. That's all I'll say. But look at those beginner classes, because there are always some available. If it says all skill levels, jump in. Go for it. Try something that you've never done before. And a convention is a great place to do it, because you probably have another 300 or 400 other people there that are going to catch you and encourage you, because they're all there for the same reason.
Do you have the website for that convention so we can see what is there?
Yes, absolutely. Hang on one second. I will bring it up.
It's probably going to end up on Facebook.
Yep. Oh, it's all over Facebook.
I miss going to Hoot every year.
Oh, Hoot was a blast.
Was it a hoot?
It was a hoot, yes.
Not the first one to make that joke, I guess.
No, you were not.
Hoot's a hoot?
Chattanooga, Tennessee. Okay.
Did you die? Are you even breathing? Oh, there we go. Yeah. Puppy's alive. She sleeps so soundly.
Well, she sleeps like she's dead.
Oh no.
I'll have to bring it up. I will post it actually on the website, and I'll post it on the Facebook page. I cannot find it at the moment. So this gives us a chance to reiterate how we painted that pansy. So a little bit of warm white. I'm using a 3/8 angled shader. A little bit of warm white, blend it out well. You don't want it full strength. Now, again, where do I place it? You see where it dips in? That's your highlight point. This is where your pansy rises. So this is your highlight point. So I'm just using the chisel edge of my brush to put a little bit of warm white in, and I'm aiming that triangle back towards the center of the flower. And I'm going to do that on all of those little indents right there. See? Just like that. There's another one right here. It's not as pronounced, but it's there. So that indentation, wherever it dips in towards the center of the flower, is where you're going to place your highlight. So it looks a little wonky for a while, but it's okay. So remember, the point of that triangle's always got to come back towards the center of the flower. Just like that. And I'm using just a small amount of warm white. I'm not using a ton. Oops, too much. I'm going to exaggerate it a little bit here so that it's clearer on camera.
Sounds like May's worked really hard today. Yeah.
Work.
More like just chase the ball.
And she's a puppy. What work does she need to do?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet.
Her job is to go get the ball that I throw.
Yeah. Well, her job is to get trained. That's what her job is.
Yep. Her job is focus.
Yep. Sometimes she's really good at it. Other times, not so much.
Other times, everything distracts her.
Mm-hmm.
But she's also only 5 months old.
Yeah, she's a puppy.
Can't hold the standards too high for a 5-month-old.
There. So I'm exaggerating this so you can see what I'm doing a little clearer. So you see all those little triangles? You can see that they all point back towards the throat of the flower. That's what you need. It just helps set the direction for all of these petals.
Oh. Any word from Robin Storm? About Gizmo?
I don't know.
I haven't...
Last time I saw you was sleeping on her lap while she was trying to paint.
Oh, I was wondering if she got that chair for him.
No, not yet.
No?
No. So on those dips,
Oh, there she is.
opposite those highlights, those parts that go out, you're going to put a U-shaped float of that dioxazine purple, just like that. So it creates an exaggerated ruffle, but it becomes a little more subtle as you work. So again, U-shaped float. And again, those floats come back towards the center. You're directing color back towards the center of the flower. So yep, it looks a little wonky at first, but it'll get there. This is just the first step. So we're going to go through and we're going to do all of these petals this way.
Do they have conventions here in Canada?
We used to. We have a couple of retreats coming up. Art Waves has a retreat coming up in the spring. And they're always wonderful.
Nope. Patrick's off.
Have a good night, Patrick.
And once again, all I'm getting is YouTube stuff. I'm not seeing any Facebook. It's like it gives up.
I got it. Oh, thank you, Bonnie. She put it up. Yep. Bonnie put the link up.
Oh, did you?
It's APCE Expo, or apcexpo.com. I knew one of our gang would
Chattanooga.
get it done.
I love your teacups and teapots. Debbie Gill from Portland.
Hi, Debbie. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to come in with that Diox purple, and I'm going to start separating all of these petals. Nice little show float in there, in behind. And that just separates and defines each of these petals. And make sure you get in behind all of them.
Crescent City, California.
Ooh. Guess they had a little bit of an earthquake in SoCal yesterday. At least. There we go.
Hi there, princess.
So I like layering in this color. I prefer to do things in layers. It just gives you a little more control. If you try to do it all in one go, sometimes you end up with really harsh, dark floats. And it makes it really hard to go back in and adjust them. Whereas if you do them in thin overlapping layers, you have complete control over them. How dark they get. Easy peasy. And dioxazine purple is such a strong color. But I love it because it's so transparent. So we've got all of that shading in to separate those petals. And now I'm going to float underneath all of those flip overs. So I've left them all black for the time being. So I'm going to put a nice deep float underneath that flip over, just like that. Just helps make everything a little softer. And it gives those turnovers a little more elevation when we actually get around to painting them in. Go. Easy peasy. Pansies are such a pretty flower. Oop, there we are. Get that little shadow underneath there. And I think I'm just about there. I like it. So still, our flowers still look a little bit raggedy. That's all right. We're going to take a little bit of that warm white and we're going to put a nice little throat on our flowers. It's a chisel blend. So you load the angle as if you're going to float, and then you tap the paint in, standing the brush on the chisel edge. Gives you a nice little throat on your flower. Now I'm doing it in warm white first because we're going to use a little bit of saffron yellow to do this, to do that beard. And I'm going to do the same thing in here. And just remember to pull it out no more than half the width of the petal. Just gives you a little more room to maneuver. I love this chisel blend method. It just gives you a nice texture in the center. And it gives you oodles of control. And I just realized I missed something here. I made a little boo-boo. There we go. I goofed a little. I missed a spot. Thought it was a turnover, but it isn't. And so I didn't paint it properly. So here is our little... I like that beard to be quite bright because we're using yellow over top of it. And if it's not bright, then the yellow tends to be a little muted. It gets a little subdued by the purple. So we want a nice bright white in there. There we go. My brush was getting a little over full. There we go. There we go. So I've got all that white in there. I'm going to dry this real quick. I'm going to use my rigger. I'm going to give them a nice center with a nice big dot of saffron yellow. Just like that.
Gonna get Ralph to make one.
Ralph.
Robin Storm.
That's a good idea. So we're going to let this dry. Because if it's me, I've already got to clean up a little bit of... I managed to get some purple on the leaves here because I put my fingers in wet paint. So I'm going to use a little bit of orange flame at the bottom of that little yellow dot. Just a little, just gives it a little more heat. It's a tiny little float. And then I'm going to take that saffron yellow. I'm going to load the brush as if to float. I don't think you can even see that. And then I'm going to repeat that whole process that we just did with all of that white with the yellow, with that saffron, right over top of that white. It's okay if it goes out over the purple a little bit. Don't worry about it. But it gives that, having that little bit of white just keeps that yellow nice and bright over top of that purple. I like having that little bit of a base in there. And then wherever you've done that little bit of white chisel blending, you're going to put a little saffron yellow. Doesn't have to be perfect. There we go.
That's a good way to lose a sale.
What's that?
Apparently, the lady that makes the chairs
Okay.
only makes them for dogs with megaesophagus.
Okay.
Yeah. Doesn't make them for dogs with reflux.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good way to lose a sale.
Aren't they the same?
Essentially the same thing.
Okay. I'm wondering if there's
The
a
same issue,
structural
anyway.
difference in the chair. I don't know.
I don't know. I just
There we go.
could have made a sale regardless.
Yep. So I've got the centers of these done. Now I like to have a little bit of that black showing around the bottom, but if you find that it kind of got lost in there, you can take a liner brush, because I got a spot here where it just kind of went a little sideways. There we go. Just want to bring it back a little, just to add a little texture at the edge of that with just a few little dots of black. So now we're going to make that color that we used for the edges and the turnovers. And we're doing that with a little bit of that purple petal and a generous amount of that warm white. Because I want to make a very light purple. There we go.
It's like saying you're a dog trainer, but you don't train pit bulls.
I guess, yeah. So on either side of that center portion, I'm going to put a little comma stroke before I do the turnover. Just like that. And it is just that, a little comma stroke. And there's your turnover. And then I like that. I do this a lot in flowers and on leaves and whatnot, where I use that sort of very soft, fine, squiggly line at the edges. I just find that it softens the flower a little bit. So, comma stroke, flip over, squiggly line.
Linda Safranco's wondering what's for supper.
Well, we had sushi last night.
Yum. There's leftover sushi.
There's not much, though.
No, there's not enough for this thing.
No, not enough for you. Not even close. I roasted chickens the other day, and so I have 2 roasted chickens. So I'm thinking I might make chicken pot pie. Old-fashioned chicken pot pie. It's the only one Renee will eat.
Because I've never had a really good one until you made one.
Okay.
All the pot pies I've had have been gross. Except yours.
Okay. Well, good to know.
I don't know what it was. I think most of the time it was too salty.
Yeah, well, I don't salt anything, so until afterwards.
Chicken pot pie. If you Google Bailey chairs, there's a DIY tutorial on building one. Hey, there's a good one.
Yeah.
You're definitely spoiled, Renee. When it comes to food, I won't say I'm picky.
No, because
I just
you're
like
not
good
a fussy
food.
eater. You just like good food.
Which sucks for going to restaurants.
Well, I made all your food when you were babies, so I made all of your... And you ate what we ate. And we always had the you have to at least taste it rule.
Yes. and that nowadays,
Yeah.
I follow that rule.
Yeah. Taste it.
Even that's what got me into Indian food.
Yeah, you have to taste it. It's how do you know you don't like it until you taste it?
A lot of Indian food looks like a hot dog's breakfast.
Oh yeah. A lot of Indian food has a really, it does not look all that appealing, but
No.
flavor. Oh my gosh.
And the smells.
Yummy.
It smells delicious.
Yeah. Yep. I'm with you.
But as soon as I saw it, I was like, yeah, I don't want to. And then I remembered that rule.
Yeah.
At least try it.
Yep, you have to at least taste it.
Yeah. And yeah.
Yeah.
Glad I at least tasted it.
Yeah.
I fell in love with chutney when I was in Afghanistan.
Oh, that's easy, though.
I know, but something about chutney.
Mm-hmm.
It's... And I don't know what those crisps are, but they were so good. It's like somebody took a... what do you call it? Like a pita and fried it.
Yep.
So it's
Yum.
really crispy and crunchy.
Mm-hmm.
And you dip that in chutney. Ooh, so good.
Yep. So I've got all of my little flip overs on. So now I'm going to deepen all of the shading on those flowers with a little float of asphaltum. Lots of water in the brush or glaze. Make sure you thin it out. And this is where you're going to deepen down in behind those petals. Go right over top where those little lines intersect. In behind. That little bit of asphaltum just changes the tone of things just a little. That's why I use it heavily thinned, so that you have control.
They're made out of lentils?
Oh, yummy. Yeah.
The chips that I'm thinking of? They're made out of lentils? Really?
I can believe that.
I don't like the taste of lentils.
I love lentils. I love
But
them in soup. I love them in stews. I love lentils.
If they're made out of lentils, then I think I found the only way I'm going to eat lentils.
So that's what the difference, if you can see it from this flower to this one. That little thin float of asphaltum, it just tones everything and sets that one back.
I didn't know that. Okay, so they're like a lentil chip.
Yum.
You do now. Great.
Fabulous.
Made out of lentils. I'm curious of what they're called. Chip made from lentils.
I like lentil soup. I love lentils in general.
Yeah, that's them.
Yep.
What is it called? A two-ingredient tortilla chip made from red lentils.
Huh.
Grain-free, gluten-free, vegan, high protein, and high fiber.
Well.
That explains why I ate them. They're called red lentil tortillas. Okay.
Well, lentils are common in the Middle East.
Yeah, that's true.
And so we're just about there with this. I wanted to deepen a couple of things.
They're called lentil chips. Okay.
Well, there you go. That answers that question. Got a spot here. I'm going to separate these a bit more. I'm going to float over top with a little bit of diox. I wasn't quite getting enough shading to overlap these two flowers. You see where that fold over is there, and it tucks in behind this one. It was just not quite dark enough, so I'm going to float in a little bit of diox, and then I'm going to deepen the shading underneath this one here. There we go.
All right. Pack an overnight bag, Mom. We're going to Jessica's house.
Oh, were we?
Yeah. For dinner.
She's just in Maine. We
I
can
know.
be there pretty
That's
quick.
why just pack an overnight bag. We're going to Jessica's place. She's having a venison pot roast with carrots and mashed potatoes for dinner.
Yum.
Mm-hmm.
She thinks I'm kidding. We're pretty close.
We'll do it.
We could be there in a few hours.
Oh, I can't cross the border.
You don't have a passport. Silly bunny.
I'll find a way. When it comes to food, I can swim.
We just have to get you to Campobello. You can swim from there. Okay. So I'm going to do one last little brightening on this highlight here. I'm just going to
Pepad? Okay.
brighten a couple of spots that I just think are wanting a little. There we go. Oh, I missed a petal. Hello. There we are. So, now I need a stroke of warm white right here, just above our little shadow. In case you didn't think that that was going to do much. I love that little shadow. And we're going to take that margarita green right here, that lovely margarita.
Your nose is cold.
I'm going to thin that out, and I'm going to add just a little bit of warm white to it. Not that I want it to drastically change the color. I just want to make that green a little bit more opaque. So I'm going to thin it out a little bit. And the squiggly line that we used around the flower, we're going to do the same thing to the leaves. I use a very fine line. I just find in general this just gives the leaves a nice soft look. And it doesn't have to be perfect.
I'm sorry I took my hand away from you. I'm with you. I can't eat Bambi. What's wrong with eating Bambi?
I love venison.
Nothing wrong with eating Bambi.
I grew up eating venison and moose meat, seal meat, bear meat.
All the wild game.
All the wild game.
All while strutting around the house with her baby seal slippers.
No, jeez.
I'm kidding. You are going to unplug a camera that you don't need to unplug.
So with that mixture of margarita and warm white, this is what I do all of those little vines and curlicues with. It's not that it's a lighter green, it's just that it's a little bit more opaque. And I like little vines and tendrils. And then same process for those little leaves. They get that little outline as well. And then we're going to take some of that warm white and we're going to put in a little stroke here and here to brighten that highlight on the belly of the. And we also need a little one there.
Wow.
On our teapot.
Why are you whining?
And then I'm going to grab my black gel pen because I love my black gel pen. And I need my 3/8 angle. I'm going to take a little bit of that warm white on my 3/8. And I'm going to put a little highlight just in from the edge on the lid and on the edge of that float on the mouth. Just want to bring that up a bit. So it needed to be a little brighter. And a little float down just in from the edge. Doesn't need to be much. And then we'll take a little stroke of this. Warm white. Warm white. A little bit there.
Question.
Shoot.
Can I use an 8x10 black canvas and still look in proportion?
Yes, actually, yes, you can. If you use an 8x10, so it's 8 inches wide by 10 inches tall, what I would do is I would move this up about 2 inches from the bottom, and I would put in a little tabletop line. So if you wanted to work on a larger surface, that's what I would do. I would bring in a tabletop line, and then I would probably use 2 butterflies as opposed to 1, just to fill a little bit of the negative space, or maybe 2 butterflies in different sizes.
You're killing me here, pup.
That's what I would do.
What did I miss?
I'm going to dry this, and then I'm going to take my black gel pen, because I like doing this. I'm going to put just a sketchy line along the outside edge of my tag, like so. Doesn't have to be perfect, and it's just a scribbly, sketchy line. I'm going to do the same thing on all of the white portions of this teapot.
Donna says, when I was little, I lived on deer, squirrel, and rabbit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was either game or no meat at all.
Yeah. We had deer meat, moose meat, bear meat, whatever we could, actually, what was, available.
Whatever was in season.
Whatever was in season. And then when we were kids, we used to do our own fishing and whatnot, so it was salmon and trout and smelts in the spring. And
back when you can get away with that kind of stuff.
well, we always had a license even back then. You could only fish what was in season at the time, so.
Still can't catch salmon now.
Yeah, you can with a license.
What are you doing?
I like them sketchy lines. It's just fun to add a little detail to things with this pen. And then I'm going to do the same thing to this part. I like my sketchy lines. And when I say sketchy, I mean sketchy. We're not talking neat and tidy lines here. Sketchy. They can overlap. They can be multiple. It's fine. You can do the same thing to the flowers if you want. I kind of like the difference between the flowers. It just, I don't know, it appeals. So, there we go. Now, we have a butterfly to paint.
Do we?
Butterfly! So, I've base coated my butterfly, the wings, with purple petal, and I'm going to base coat the body.
What? Why are you whining? Hey?
With a little bit of lamp black.
Why are you whining?
And I'm going to dry it real quick. And then we're going to stencil our butterfly to match the teapot with black polka dots. So the fun part is that you can, if it's painted onto the surface, it's easy. Just try to line it up so that you get as many polka dots onto your butterfly as you can. So stencil brush, a little bit of lamp black, hold it in place, and stencil polka dots. There we go. So my butterfly has polka dots. And I'm going to dry this real quick. Now we're using the same colors to shade and highlight this butterfly as we used for the pansies. So I'm going to shade with a little bit of Diox purple. Now I'm going to separate the wings a little bit with a float like so. Just because I think it looks better. And then I'm going to float close to the body, like so. With a float of that Diox purple. And then we're going to put a highlight at the tips and the edges of the wings with a float of thinned warm white. So it doesn't need to be really strong, but you need to have a little bit out there. Just like that. And don't be afraid to put a little on that lower wing either. And then on the body, we're going to use a little bit of thinned warm white just to put a little float at the edge. With a little bit of warm white. And I'm going to dry this. Oh. There. So it's nice and dry. I'm going to take my gel pen and I'm going to put a scribbly line all the way around the outside edge of the wings, like so. What's the matter, Maze? And I'm going to do that to all 4 portions of the wings. I like that scribbly line. And then we're going to give it a final highlight on the body with a little stroke of warm white. So a dot on the head and a little comma stroke down the body.
You're almost done, puppy.
Somebody wants to go outside.
You're just outside.
So I rather like this.
I just carry that lighter on your website.
I don't, but the brush guys do. And you can use a coupon code, going to give you a little extra discount. It's Tracy M. Lately I've been a big fan of adding dimensional things to some of my pieces, but I'm going to drop that into place. I just used a little bit of the Aleene's Clear Tacky. I like this one. So push that into place. And then the only thing that we have left to do is a little bit of gold, because I like my gold. I'm going to grab my gold paint pen. I have this in a variety of sizes. This is a Deco Color liquid gold. This is the ultra fine or the extra fine. This one's got a nice fine point. I use this one quite a lot for smaller areas and details, like on this piece. And I'm going to put a little gold trim. Of course, this one doesn't want to work. Of course. So I'll use this instead. This is just the bigger version of the deco color. I don't usually like to use the big one, but the small one's not working. So we're just going to put a little gold border on the cap, like so. There we go. And I'm going to put a gold trim on the edge of the teapot. Just like that. Easy peasy. I left a little space for the string that's on the tag. There we go. So it just adds a little bit of bling to the edge of the teapot. Now there is a spot on this teapot that is black next to black, and I don't like leaving graphite, so I'm going to use just a very thin line of white. Not a solid line, just a little sketchy line. Right there, just to separate it. And I'm going to do the same thing at the top edge of the cap here. Just a little tiny line. It's very faint. So I'm going to dry everything, and then we're going to use a white gel pen, my opaque white gel pen, to put in the border. And it's super simple. Make sure everything is well dried. And I'm going to use a steel ruler for this. Now I'm coming in from the edge by about a 1/2 inch. So if you're wondering, good grief. So I want about a 1/2 inch from the edge. I'm just going to do a quick mark. This is the widest that we want our border. So I'm going to come a 1/2 inch in from the edge. And this is where my line is going to be. 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to come 1/8 inch from that first line, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to come past that by about 1/8 inch. It is going to be imperfect, and that's okay. So I'm going to dry that. So essentially, when I'm doing this border, I don't want everything to be squared off perfectly. I want them so I'm going to come down from the edge of that one by about 1/8 inch. Right there. And I'm going to come past the edge of that by about 1/8 inch. About. Not exactly. I think my pen has just about had the biscuit here. Again, I don't need a perfect lineup. Now, this is one thing that I love about this opaque gel pen, is that it is water soluble. So if I make a goof like I did right there, I can take a wet brush and wipe it off. So I'm going to dry that, and then I'm going to put one more line on to finish my border. And it's going to come, you guessed it, about 1/8 of an inch from the first one. And I'm going to come past the end of that line, that first line, by about 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to stop before I reach the end of that one. There we go. So it kind of gives you that lattice effect. Now, what I had said about the 8x10 canvas, about putting in a tabletop. So essentially, if you're going to have a larger canvas, then you need to have a larger space behind it. I'm going to grab a white chalk pencil. So I would put a nice horizontal line in behind it to establish a tabletop. And then it will start taking up some of that negative space. Once you have that line in there, you can just put a little float of warm white to this side. And what it'll do is it'll give you the illusion that there's a tabletop there. And then it helps alleviate some of that negative space that you would have left on a larger surface. So there it is. The only thing I have left to do is to put my scribblature on it, but my gel pen doesn't want to work. There we go. Et voila. Pretty pansies.
Pretty pansies. There we go.
With a dimensional butterfly.
The dimensional butterfly.
Yeah.
Everybody's going dibs.
So it's a fun piece to paint. You can be a little more playful with it. You can add your own elements to it. If you don't like the butterfly, maybe do a dragonfly.
It has the wheel.
A purple ladybug would be cute too. You could do almost fun things with it.
Ah.
So there it is. Pretty pansies. I'm a fan. I love doing those teapots. They're just super easy. So we're doing a summary piece next week.
A summary piece?
A summary piece. We're going to be doing a seahorse.
A seahorse.
Uh-huh. Going to be a fun piece to do.
Please don't chew on anything.
Especially nothing plugged in.
Yeah. Well, I got the wheel ready.
And how many names do we have on the wheel today?
We have 217.
Nice. Very nice. So just to recap, the prizes today have a Valentine's theme. We've got a great little craftgasm bag for you. And we filled it up with a few little goodies from both Renee and myself. Plus there's some stuff in there from the Stencil Studio. There's a great set of stamps. And there is a marvelous set of Dynasty Faux Squirrel brushes in there, as well as some other goodies. We always like to tuck some other stuff in. So, and everything has a Valentine's theme, so you're going to love it. So Renee is
wrangling the puppy.
He's wrangling the puppy. Renee's going to spin the wheel. All you ever have to do to get your name on the wheel is just simply interact. Join us in the chat. Join us on Facebook. Like and share it, or hit the subscribe button. Any one of those things will get your name on the wheel. And there's 217 of you today. So
Jeez.
Good luck.
That name was a lot bigger than I thought.
Pat Lynchy. Boys, oh boys. Pat won the membership draw the other night.
No.
Yeah. No, for the Tuesday. Not Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. She won Tuesday's draw.
Oh, you did a giveaway on Tuesday night?
Yeah. I think it was Tuesday's draw. Anyway, no, the challenge. That's the one.
Ah.
My brain wasn't going there. So Pat Lynchy. So we have some goodies going out to you. I already have Pat's shipping information.
Yeah.
If you have never been on if you've never joined us today and have never been on the wheel, if your name is drawn, all you have to do is go to my website, click on the little contact us button in the top or the little speech bubble in the lower right hand corner, and send us an email with your shipping information so that we can get your goodies out to you as quickly as possible. You're very welcome, Pat.
Jan Marshall.
Jean.
Jean.
Jean Marshall. Jean. Jean Marshall.
Jan Marshall. I'm sticking to it.
Okay. You're doubling down on that one,
Yep.
are you? Okay. Oh my goodness. And the last one. We got one last one.
Clickety. Oof, 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 oof. Cindy Braden.
Nice. Miss Cindy Braden. I have Cindy's shipping information too.
Do you?
Yeah, we do.
How did we get that?
She's won before.
Has she?
She has. So, winners today, Pat Lynchy, Jean Marshall, and Cindy Braden. You've got some Dynasty Faux Squirrel brushes courtesy of Dynasty Brush and the Brush Guys. And there's a gorgeous stamp set in there and a whole bunch of other goodies courtesy of myself and Renee, just to mark the occasion for Valentine's Day. So I hope you guys enjoy your goodies. Thank you again for joining us every Saturday as you do. We greatly appreciate having you here and hope that you enjoy the pieces that we try to make interesting. Next Saturday, we are painting a fun beachy themed piece with a seahorse on it. So please come and join us. 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, same as always, either on Facebook on Tracy Morrow Live or on my YouTube channel. And if you are not already subscribed to my YouTube channel or to Tracy Morrow Live, please hit the follow button or the subscribe button, and you'll get notified anytime we go live or when we post new video. So, having said all of that, mwah, everybody, we love you. Please stay safe. We'll see you again soon.
Pet your dog. That button.
That's the one.
Oh, it's not the one.
It's not the one? Did you shut off the mics yet?
No. I found the right button. Bye. Pet your dogs.